Hi, once again this is Ed from Exotic Blanks. Tonight we have a video that we hope you'll find helpful. The subject is turning polyester resin. In this case we're using rhinoplastic blanks, which is a commercially prepared polyresin. The one that we're going to be turning today is called Parrot Bay. It's a blue and green and kind of a yellow. You'll see the pen at the end. It's a pretty pen. But the purpose of this basically is to go through how to turn polyester resin. It is a little chippier than Alumilite. Most people have turned Alumilite and think that that's really the only kind of resin there is. Well, no, there are several others. This is one of them. When you start with one of these blanks that is a little more prone to chipping, one of the most important parts is be certain that the temperature in the room is not very cold. The material does become far more brittle in the cold as opposed to the being in warmth. Now the room that I'm turning in here currently is about 60 degrees, so it's not real hot, and it's been that way for probably a couple of hours. One of the important things might be to keep your plastic blanks or polyresin blanks in the house, not in your workshop if your workshop is not heated. The material, if it does get cold, it takes it a while, hours, to warm up to the point where it will turn real easily. As you can see, I am turning it and it's coming off in what we call ribbons. In this case, because it's square, they're very small, very short, but it's not that difficult to turn it as long as you don't try to take too big a bite. Remember when you're turning any kind of plastic that it's the pressure that you're exerting should be from left to right or right to left, parallel to your mandrel. You don't want to push into the material. Now I'm using a skew. You can use any tool that suits your pleasure. All tools can turn this material, but all of them do take a little technique, and pushing into the blank will result in difficulties. You do need to turn parallel to the mandrel. As you can see what I'm doing here, I have turn between center bushings on it. And as you see, it stopped when I got a little bit of a catch there. I don't push my turn between center bushings into the blank real hard. I'm taking those two bushings and putting it into the blank, yes, enough friction that it will turn, but also so that if I do get a catch, it will stop. It will not actually force the blank into the tool. So it's a good way to avoid having failures by trying to allow the equipment to give some as opposed to fighting back. As you can see, I use a standard bathroom brush to clean up these shavings. It's not difficult, and it really is a pretty quick process. So we'll try to give you some of the noise of the turning so that you get an idea of what it should sound like. So I'll shut up for a little while. And as you can see, I'm getting ribbons. People say, oh, those ribbons are all in the way. This is a simple bathroom brush. Just brush them off. Okay, now because of the way that I do facing, I don't face my blanks at the beginning of turning. I face them about now. The blank is still a strong 1/16 bigger than the bushing on either end. And as you can see, if you watch this end, it is not flat. So what we're going to do next is set up the sanding jig and make that end flat. Take out this, take out that, put my sanding jig on. The sanding jig is a simple piece of plywood with sandpaper on it and a 1-inch nut on the back. I do have a video on how to make that piece if you're interested. It isn't difficult and it is cheap. Okay, as you can see, I did not face them. There's still material to come off of there, material to come off of there, and that's what we're going to do now. First thing we want to do is turn the speed down a whole lot. I do this sanding at about 1,000 RPM, and the sandpaper can be anything from 150 to 300 grit, depending on how long you want to take. Of course, the higher the grit, the less you take off at a time. There you can see this is down to shining the brass, which is what you want. The post that I'm using is not the full size of the tube, and so I keep pressure on it from the side so that I'm riding on the one side of that punch, and therefore it will stay at 90 degrees. And if you look here, you can see that it is a good 90-degree touch. And again, I'm down to where they shine. It's not a difficult process, doesn't take long, but it is easier, I think, than, well, I don't like facing tools. So that's the bottom line. I've ruined a lot of blanks with facing tools. Pen mills. They work great when they're sharp, but they're very difficult to sharpen equally, and if they're not sharpened equally, they can eat your blank. So we put the and as you can see now, both of these are turning nice and square. When you put it on in the first place, they may wobble a little bit, but I don't care because I still got plenty left here that I can take off and make the pen square when I'm finished. That's all that matters. So now we just take it down to the proper size. Because it wasn't dead square the last time, when you take these first couple of passes, you'll feel that the blank is wobbling. You're not hitting just now I've got a square again, and it's cutting the way it should. That one's right. That one's right. Now we just get the middle cleaned up a bit. So as you can see, it's not terribly difficult. That's rhinoplastic, a polyresin, and it makes a nice look here. Now we'll finish it up and make it into a nice looking pen. First thing we need to do is sand and I think this is 600. Whoops. Much slower when we sand. And that's all I need to do on the lathe. Now I'll take it over and buff it, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've done the sanding, and this is what it looks like after it's buffed. Again, that's called rhinoplastic, and it is a polyresin. And as you can see when you look at the shine line over here, it does do a very nice job of shining up. I have a buffer, so I use it. You could get very similar results using Novus 2 and Novus 3 or some other type of polishing liquid or any of the triple E's, that type of thing. Thank you for watching. We invite you to like the video or subscribe to our channel. Always looking for additional people who are interested in pen turning. If you have any other comments, please leave them in the comments below, and I will attempt to answer anything that you've asked. Once again, this is Ed from Exotic Blanks. Thanks a lot. Bye now.